If you remember, during our revision time, we talked about transversal. It is time that we revise all those concepts again before we move on to understanding the different shapes of a quadrilateral. So, suppose you have two parallel lines. This is a line L. We have a parallel line M, and you have one line which intersects both these lines, right, at points, let's say A and B. This is line N. So N is said to be transversal of line L and M. Very important prerequisite here is that L should be parallel to M, right? Here if you see, this is A. Here if you see, we have total 8 angles which are formed. Which are the 8 angles? This is angle 1, this is angle 2, this is angle 3, this is angle 4. This is angle 5, this is angle 6, 7 and 8. Total 8 angles are formed. And we have to understand some of the very important properties and terms associated with these angles. Let us look at all of them one by one. If you see angle 2 and angle 6, they are called as corresponding angles. So one term is corresponding angles. Total there are 4 pairs of corresponding angles. Angle 2, angle 6 is first pair. Angle 3, angle 7 is second pair. Angle 1, angle 5 is third pair. Angle 4 and angle 8 is fourth pair. 4 pairs of corresponding angles are formed. And the corresponding angles are always equal. So, angle 2 is equal to angle 6. Angle 3 is equal to angle 7. Angle 1 is equal to angle 5 and angle 4 is equal to angle 8. This is what the property is about corresponding angles. Next type of angles are vertically opposite angles, which means the angles which are exactly opposite. So, if you see here, you have angle 1 and angle 3. They are vertically opposite angles because when any two lines intersect, they are opposite. They do not have a common ray. This angle and this angle only have this point as common. They have no common rays. Common ray, for example, if I take this angle if I take this angle and this angle, they have this common ray. So then they become angle 1 and 2 are angles of a linear pair, right? Because they have one common ray, right? But angle 1 and angle 3 do not have any common rays. They are opposite angles. Similarly, angle 2 and angle 4 are opposite angles. Angle 5, angle 7 are opposite angles. Angle 6 and angle 8 are opposite angles. So you get 4 pairs of vertically opposite angles, right? Next is what we get as alternate angles. Alternate angles, so if you see 4 and 6, they are called as alternate angles. That is first pair. Second pair will be angle 3 and angle 5. And these angles are called as interior alternate angles because they lie between the two parallel lines. So 3, 4, 5, 6 are the 4 interior angles here because they lie between the two parallel lines. 1, 2, 7 and 8 are exterior angles because they lie outside the parallel lines. Angle 4 and angle 6 are called as alternate interior angles. And angle 3 and angle 5 are again another pair of alternate interior angles. And these angles will be equal. So angle 4 and angle 6 are equal. Angle 3 and angle 5 are equal. Similarly, if you see external, so angle 2 and angle 8. Angle 2 and angle 8 are alternate exterior angles and angle 1 and angle 7 are alternate exterior angles. They are also equal. So 4 pairs of alternate angles, 2 interior, 2 exterior. So we have alternate angles in which we have interior and exterior. Both have 2 pairs. This much is clear? We also have something called consecutive angles. We have 2 such interior pairs. Angle 3 and angle 6 form one pair of consecutive angles. Angle 4, angle 5 form other pair. The property which consecutive angles share is that their sum will be always 180 degree. So angle 3 plus angle 6 will be equal to 180. Angle 4 and angle 5 will be 180. So this is the property that they share. So totally we have 4 types of angles, corresponding angles. So the example will be angle 1 and angle 5. Second example is angle 2 and angle 6. Third example is angle 3 and angle 7. And fourth example is angle 4 and angle 8. These are 4 pairs of corresponding angles. Vertically opposite angles, angle 1, angle 3, angle 2, angle 4, angle 5, angle 7, angle 6, angle 8. Vertically opposite angles. Alternate interior angles, angle 3, angle 5, angle 4, angle 6. And exterior will be angle 2 and angle 7. And in exterior again will be angle 1 and angle 8. Right? And all these pairs are always equal. Right? And consecutive angles pair will be angle 3 and angle 6, angle 4 and angle 5. Their sum is equal to 180 degree. So total 8 angles are formed when we have 2 parallel lines and there is one transversal intersecting both of them at different points. We get total 8 angles, and this is how you define those angles. And these properties are very important for you because when you move on and understand about different types of quadrilaterals, these are going to help you in understanding why some of the quadrilaterals have opposite angles equal or other properties which they have. These concepts will help you understand that properly. Let us quickly talk about congruence of a triangle and similarity of triangle. So, if I have a triangle PQR, right, and another triangle which is A, B and C. If I am able to place PQR on ABC and overlap it, exactly overlap it, which means if I put ABC on PQR, whole of PQR triangle will be hidden. For example, if I cut this paper in 2 parts and I put one part over the other, will you see the other part behind it? You will not, because the 2 parts are exactly equal. They are equal because all the sides are equal, all the angles are equal. Such shapes are called as congruent shapes, in which there is full overlapping. It is okay if the overlapping happens by twisting and turning it. Suppose one part is like this, other part is like this, but this length and breadth are equal. So if I turn this shape, there are 2 rectangles. If I turn and put it, it will be the same. By same I mean the shapes are exactly same. By shapes being same I mean the length of its sides are also same and all the angles are also same. Then such figures are called as congruent figures. In triangle PQR and triangle ABC, if suppose I have PQ and AB are equal, QR and BC are equal, and PR and AC are equal, so all the 3 sides are equal. Also, angle P is equal to angle A, angle Q is equal to angle B, and angle R is equal to angle C. if all the measures of two triangles are equal, the triangles are said to be congruent. And how do we write it? We write as triangle PQR is congruent to triangle ABC. This is how you write about congruence. So for congruency, it is very important that all the 6 aspects of a triangle, which are 3 sides and 3 angles, all of them have to be equal. It doesn't matter if the shape is twisted. It is okay if the triangles are mirror images of each other. It is okay if they are turned to 180 degree or 270 or whatever degrees. But if all the sides and all the angles of two triangles are same, the triangles are said to be congruent with each other. Let us move on to understanding some of the ways in which you can determine that two triangles are congruent. You know that each triangle has 6 measures, 3 sides and 3 angles. And as we discussed earlier, when all the measures are same, the triangles are congruent. So that is the definition of congruency. It is not necessary that we have to be given that all the angles and all the sides are equal. There are certain postulates, and by postulate I mean something which is accepted without proof. We prove theorems, we accept postulates as the truth. So certain postulates regarding congruency are given, which talk about how only 3 of the measures are important to understand that two triangles are congruent. Let us look at all these postulates one by one in brief. First is side postulate, which means we have been given that the sides of two triangles are equal in some or the other way. Let us look at an example. I have two triangles here, triangle EDA and triangle BAC. It is given that ED is equal to BC, EA is equal to AB and DA equal to AC. So all the sides are equal to a corresponding side. So by SSS postulate, we can write that triangle. Now see how I am naming the triangle. See, this triangle can be called as BCA or ABC or CBA or CAB or BAC. All is the same triangle. But when we are talking about congruency, we have to be specific about that. So if I say triangle EDA, I have to talk about the corresponding sides which are equal. So ED equal to what? BC, DA equal to CA and AE equal to AB. So EDA is congruent with BCA. And how do I understand this? See, if I divide them into line segments, ED is equal to BC, ED and BC are equal, DA and CA are equal, DA and CA. So this DA, CA are equal, EA and BA are equal. Clear? This is how you will name. If you write triangle EDA is congruent to triangle ABC. If you write triangle EDA is congruent with ABC, it is incorrect because the corresponding sides are not matching, they are not equal. ED equal to AB. Is ED equal to AB? No. ED is equal to BC, right? So this you cannot write. This is not correct. This is right. If you want to write triangle ABC, how can you write triangle ABC is congruent with C, ABC congruent with AED. This is correct. These are congruent. ABC and AED. See, AB equal to AE, AD equal to AC, AD equal to AC, and BC equal to ED. BC equal to ED. That is right. So this is right, this is right, this is wrong. This is how you write about two triangles being congruent, and what is given is all the sides have a corresponding equal side in the other triangle. So AE equal to AB, ED equal to BC and DA equal to CA. Then that is how you can say that these triangles are congruent using the side postulate. Next is side angle side. So here we have to be given that two sides are equal and the included angle is equal, which means xy is equal to PQ, yz is equal to QR, then angle y has to be equal to angle Q. Two sides and included angle. By included angle we mean the angle which is between the two given sides. So when you have these two sides, we have angle which is given, angle y and angle q. So if I have xy equal to pq, angle y equal to angle q, and yz is equal to qr, then I can say triangle xyz is congruent with triangle PQR. Clear? This is the side angle side postulate. If you know that these three things are equal in two triangles, you can say that the triangles are congruent, which means in effect, or because the triangles are congruent, then you can say that xz equal to PR, angle P and angle x are equal, angle z and angle r are equal. We don't need all of them, all the conditions. We can say that the two triangles are congruent only using the three given criteria. That is the side angle side. Next is angle side angle. Here we have been given two different angles and the included side. So two angles. So angle x is equal to angle j, angle y is equal to angle k, and yes, xy is equal to jk. So I have angle x is equal to angle j, angle y is equal to angle k, and xy is equal to jk. So using the angle side angle postulate, I can say triangle XYZ is congruent to angle JKL. So angle side angle has two angles and the included side equal with each other. So this is how you can say that these triangles are congruent. Next is angle side. So fold. Angle side. Here this is a bit different. Here what is given is this. It is given as for example, angle M is equal to angle P, angle N is equal to angle Q, and any of these sides are given, not the included side. So suppose I have angle M is equal to angle angle P, angle M is equal to angle P, angle N is equal to angle Q, and MO equal to PR, then triangle MNO is congruent with triangle PQR using angle side postulate. If it is given instead of this MO equal to PR, this is not given, but I am given NO equal to QR, then also using angle side postulate, I can say that triangle MNO and triangle PQR are congruent. So this is the fourth postulate. We have one more. The last congruence theorem is hypotenuse leg theorem. This is applicable only in case of right angle triangles. It says that if in a given right angle triangle you have, this is the hypotenuse, if the hypotenuses are equal and the legs are equal, so PR and line segment PR and line segment SR are the hypotenuses and QR and RT are the legs. The triangles are given as, so angle PQR and angle STR are two right angle triangles. If this is given, then triangle PQR and triangle STR are congruent. So this is what it is. In this case, the triangles will be congruent. This is the special case only for right angle triangles. So the hypotenuse should be equal and the leg should be equal. So the triangles are congruent. So here, if this is given, I can say triangle PQR is congruent to PQR is STR. Because PQ and ST are corresponding, QR and TR are corresponding equal sides, and PR and SR. So PR and SR. This is how you write the congruence of two triangles. Is this clear? So these are the 5 basic postulates to understand that two triangles can be congruent in these ways. This is going to be very useful for you when you talk about the congruence in the coming pages.